Imagine having to work in an operating room together with 70 other staff members for 22 hours. The objective is to separate two 7-month-old twins joined at the back of the skulls. The problem with this surgery was that no one else had ever performed this type of surgery and had successful results. Dr. Benjamin Carson came up with a way of successfully separating the twins and provided them with a life of independence. I was introduced to the life of Dr. Benjamin Carson when a church friend of mine told me about his movie, or a movie made about his life. It was called Gifted Hands. Has anybody seen that? Yeah. He knew that I wanted to be a surgeon, so he told me it would be a very inspirational movie for me to watch. It is recreated from his autobiography called Gifted Hands. So yeah, it's very similar to the book. He had a very difficult childhood, being African American, and he was, in that time, not many doctors were African American. He was like probably one of the, yeah, you get it. It was rare. He had a difficult childhood, but he worked hard and strived to be successful in the medical field. Today I'll tell you about his childhood hardships, struggle to overcome adversity, and overall achievements. He was born on September 18th, 1951, in Detroit, Michigan. When he was 8, and his brother Curtis, older brother Curtis, was 10, their mother was left to raise the children on her own. His mother only had up to a 3rd grade education, and she was married at the age of 13, and then she was divorced. She had to take on 2 to 3 jobs to provide for her children. And from an article I read of the biography of Benjamin Carson, it said she was frugal with the family's finances, cleaning and patching clothes from Goodwill in order to dress the boys. Their mother would become their biggest role model for finances and controlling money and all that kind of aspects in their future. Benjamin Carson, he was not very successful in school in his early years, and the poverty that he experienced gave him a violent temper. In an article by the Academy of Achievement, that's one of my sources, it said his classmates called him Dummy. That was his nickname, because he really couldn't, he felt he was stupid too, and he didn't really care about studying too much. And another article from biography.com says he was known to attack other children at the slightest provocation because he had such a violent temper. His mother was determined to give him a life that she couldn't have, so she made them focus on their studies more, and she wouldn't let them watch as much television, and made them read at least 2 library books a week, and had to give her a written report on the reading, even though she couldn't read it because she barely had the education to read it properly. He said regarding a day in class where his teacher had a piece of rock in his hand, and he asked the class to identify it, and he was the only one that was able to identify it because he remembered it from his books. So he said, it was at that moment I realized I wasn't stupid. And then he had a hard time coping in his school because it was predominantly white, and he was like one of few African Americans. There was one instance where it said in the sources I cited, after Ben received a certificate of achievement at the semester break, one of the school's teachers berated the white students for letting a black student get ahead of them. Yeah, it was that bad. And then even though he had successes in his academics, he had a hard time controlling his anger. So there was a time when he almost hit his mother with a hammer because over a dispute of clothing, just because he wanted to wear what other kids wore, but he wasn't rich enough to afford. And then there was many other instances as well where he let his anger get the best of him. He graduated with honors and proceeded. He was very smart. Okay, I forgot to read this. There's an excerpt, and it said, "The hunger for knowledge had taken a hold of him, and he began to read voraciously on all subjects. Determined to become a physician, and he learned to control the violent temper that threatened his future." So he graduated with honors from his high school and went to Yale, where he got a degree in psychology. From there, he went to medical school in University of Michigan, where he got a degree in neurosurgery. And then he became a resident at Johns Hopkins University in 1977. He then went to work at Johns Hopkins Hospital, where he did his residency there. And at age 32, he became the hospital's director of pediatric neurosurgery. His many successful surgery there, he has done many successful feats, including the separation of the two twins I talked about earlier. And another excerpt says, "Carson's other surgical innovations have included the first intrauterine procedure to relieve pressure on the brain of a hydrocephalic fetal twin, and a hemispherectomy in which an infant suffered from uncontrollable seizures, has half of his brain removed, so he wouldn't have that seizure anymore." He's received many awards. His most prestigious award would be in February 2008, President Bush awarded Carson the Ford Theater Lincoln Medal and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the U.S.'s highest civilian honors. And he has a scholarship set up so that kids can to end the education crisis in the United States. Today, I express to you Dr. Benjamin Carson's childhood hardships and struggle to overcome adversities and overall achievements. He did not let his childhood adversities get in the way of the dreams he had of becoming successful in the medical field. I would like to end with a quote from him. It said, "There's no such thing as an average human being. If you have a normal brain, you are superior. There's almost nothing you can't do."
Now, did he go to space? Was he an astronaut too? I thought he did.